Well, good morning, everyone. It's both happy and a weird day. Happy because we are back on track after last year's failure. I mean, it's been 10 years now that we've been organizing this conference, and we had a hole last year because we got taken by surprise by the pandemic and we really didn't know what to do. Weird because we're still in front of the computers, but maybe for some reasons it's even better. And I'm afraid, or I'm sure that the next conferences will be in the hybrid mode anyway, because we won't escape from that option anymore. Normally we meet in the Institute of Oceanology, Polish Academy of Sciences in Sopot, and we have Marcin Weslawski with us, who is the director of this institute. Marcin, would you open the conference properly, let's say?
Okay, thank you very much, Tymon. I'm very happy that all of you managed to organize that conference and meet again. I think it's important because that's kind of a very special forum which unites very interdisciplinary presentations. And it's also very important that that's a young generation. And I think that what I can observe is that the big hope for the better future, for the better treatment of our planet is connected only with the younger generation, because my generation, we were surprised by the technological events, we were surprised by the global change, we were surprised by the deluge of information which is available now. And you have been born with it. So it's something that you are accustomed and you can deal with it. So people from older generation, they are very much prone to all kind of conspiracy theories, fake news, etc. While I do hope that you can sort it out and you can really introduce a change to our behavior towards the planet. So I wish you the fruitful meeting and good discussions, and I hope you will learn from each other, especially looking on the other disciplines. It's always very rewarding when you can combine hard science with the social sciences, with the arts and humanities. It's something which is really eye-opening. So all the best with the meeting. I will be following you just on the screen, of course. And go on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marcin. Yes, Where the World is Heading, that's the very original title since 2008. And I think we should be proud of having this idea over the beer, because it's everlasting. So the world will always be heading somewhere. Interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary, that's the key for this conference. And in your presentations, please remember that we have representatives of very different disciplines. So your presentations must be provided in a way that non-experts in the field will understand at least big chunk of your presentation, okay? As every year we fight, hopefully, maybe that's the wrong word, but we compete for the prizes. We have the prize of the director of the Institute of Oceanology for the best presentation in natural sciences. We have the prize for the best poster in the provided by the GeoPlanet consortium of Polish Academy of Sciences institutions, and we also have a prize for the posters that is presented by the Sopot Science Association. So we have the three awards. They're of approximately 150 euros. Sorry about that. We would love to give you more, but we are a non-profit and non-governmental organization, the Sopot Science Association. So we have only our own donations. That's why we can afford that much. Please remember about the housekeeping rules. We have two sessions, actually two paths of the sessions. We have the A session because they will go in parallel. A and B paths, but we also have a summary of the poster presentations which are available on the Padlet, and we'll just give a short summary at 3:10, if I'm not mistaken, according to the agenda. And then we have something completely new. We have a session, Women and Girls in Science. We believe that this is a very important issue, especially in our country these days. I think we should raise this issue a lot, and actually Sopot Science Association has always been pretty active in gender issues and other issues connected with, let's say, modern world, so to speak. Marcin mentioned the future, and we have Rebecca Daniel with us today from the Marine Diaries. Rebecca is a founder and the director of this organization, and her title of the presentation is Where the World is Heading, the Future is Female. So basically we have the answer, but let's see about the argumentation. Rebecca, the floor is yours. You have 20 minutes, but then we have a healthy 20 minutes for discussions if we have any questions. And so just feel relaxed, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Tymon. Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca Daniel, Director of the Marine Diaries. And the Marine Diaries is a non-profit organisation using digital media to communicate ocean science. It was set up while studying for my master's degree in tropical marine biology just over 3 years ago now. It started simply kind of as a blog and social media, but has since expanded into an international organisation run by volunteers from around the globe. We run awareness campaigns on topics like plastic pollution and host educational webinar series. So far, we have coordinated panel discussions on topics such as fisheries, plastics, ocean positive business, and also held a careers workshop. Our mission is to educate people about the ocean in the hope of inspiring them to protect it. So by using new and emerging forms of media, we engage different audiences outside of the academic world. Currently, we're creating educational materials about different marine ecosystems, from coral reefs to polar seas, in the form of articles, videos, and posters. These are all free to access and have been used by individuals, schools, and NGOs around the world. A large majority of my team is female. If I asked you to name 5 scientists, how many of those would be female? A recent study showed that only 1 in 10 people can identify a present-day female role model in STEM. This isn't surprising, given just 7 women have won the Nobel Prize for chemistry and 4 for physics. Compare this to the numbers for men: 179 for chemistry and 212 for physics. Only 1 woman, the legendary Marie Curie, has won the award twice. But first, let's think about how far we've come. In 1869, the first women attended a UK university. In 1959, women were finally allowed to go on scientific cruises in the USA. And in 1963, the first women went to space. More girls go to school, more women have access to healthcare and family planning, and more women are serving in positions of power than ever before. Now there are 1.1 million women in STEM across the UK, but this is actually only around 1/4 of the workforce. It's important to recognise the progress we have made in the representation of women in STEM, but we still have a long way to go. Many areas of STEM remain male-dominated, especially in more senior positions. Particularly in academia, we see a leaky pipeline. Equal numbers of men and women are graduating with STEM degrees, but far less women go on to pursue postgraduate study or remain in academic institutions. Not only are STEM fields male-dominated, but they are often dominated by a certain male demographic. We need more women, but we also need more diversity across both men and women. people of colour, LGBTQ plus individuals, and people of differing abilities. We need everyone to give their unique perspective so that we can develop technologies and solutions that consider all types of people. I'm lucky enough to live in a country where my gender was never a barrier to my career as a scientist. I have never been told not to pursue science because I'm a woman. My career has been determined by academic achievement, experience, and passion, but gender stereotypes are still very pervasive in STEM. Through running the Marine Diaries, I've been connected with women around the globe who are dedicated to conserving the ocean. Working alongside and spotlighting these women has been very inspiring. It is often easy to forget that there is greater gender disparity in other STEM fields when working in this ocean bubble. I've been the bearer and witness to casual sexism in the workplace, and for many women and girls around the world, the situation is much worse. There are still many barriers to women in STEM, a lack of role models, wage gaps, sexual harassment, and a lack of support when raising a family, to name a few. Having a role model is important for any career, but is especially vital for inspiring the next generation of female STEM leaders. It helps to break down gender stereotypes and teach young men and women that you don't need to look or be a certain way to secure a job. If you don't see a role model in your field, why not become one? Luckily, things are changing and the world is waking up. Initiatives are popping up around the globe, empowering and supporting women into various roles. In ocean science, there are almost equal numbers of men and women. An overwhelming majority of the people I have come across throughout my career so far have been young women and girls. This is really encouraging, but we must ensure that these women feel able to stay in this field. People are realizing that women and girls are more affected by things like climate change, and that they are also vital to ensuring sustainable development. Studies have shown that women show greater concern for environmental issues, feel a greater desire to protect it, and are more likely to engage in pro-environmental behaviours and support environmental protection. We need more women and people.
Rebecca, I hate to interrupt you, but do you have any PowerPoint that you are showing? No. Okay, because we have a number of questions like we don't see the PowerPoint. And I don't think you have any, but just to make sure.
No, I don't have it.
Okay. So sorry, I'm really sorry.
That's okay. We need more women and people from all backgrounds to be scientists, technicians, engineers, and mathematicians. With more women in STEM, there will be greater innovation, better decision-making, and successful conservation. The future is female. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The floor is open for discussion. Do you have any comments, questions? We have lots of time for discussions before we have the women and girls in science session now. Maybe I will start then. My first comment. Oh, okay, Nastaran, go ahead.
Yes, Nastaran. Hello, thank you so much for your presentation. I don't have a particular question, but I wanted to empathize with this beautiful conversation that you brought up, Rebecca. I'm from Iran and now currently residing in Poland, and I grew up doing two different studies. First, I studied biology, and then like my bachelor's was biology, and then my master's was in English literature. So about 12, 13 years ago, when I was doing my studies in biology, one day, one of my lecturers, who was a young male lecturer, mocked us in the class, although it was a majority female class. So imagine out of 50 students, probably 45 were girls. And he was like, yeah, you don't really have to study so hard, because at the end you've got to marry and change diapers. That was a very heartbreaking moment for me personally, because My country is is facing challenges, obviously, but it's a country where women are very active. Wherever you go, to offices, to different places, even in engineering fields, really difficult places to work, you always see women who are working and contributing to the society. Although my mom was a housewife, she always raised us with this mindset to grow up independently, to study and to pursue our career, to achieve what we want, and to be independent women. But unfortunately, in some probably places in the world, like that particular class which I had, there are people who allow themselves to, how to say, to disrespect women or to break their confidence. This is also something that we need to keep in mind in order to help girls also grow up confident at the same time. Because if they don't believe in themselves, if there are people around them who, even now, if not parents, even if parents tell you you can do it, but then you go to university and then you have a lecturer who talks to you that way, you may lose your confidence and self-esteem and stop believing in yourself. I didn't stop believing in myself, and I'm happy where I am right now. But of course, I think we also culturally need to work on that, because I know this exists everywhere in the world, unfortunately, more or less. Obviously, less in some countries, but more in many countries. So besides helping girls pursuing a career in science, we also need to help them grow up confident in order to see this in themselves to go and achieve something in science. I just wanted to thank you to thank you for your presentation. And yeah, I don't have a question. I just wanted to share this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I may elaborate about it a little bit, if that's okay. Well, the confidence is very often killed on many different levels, but it usually starts with your family arrangements. As a matter of fact, you can really be less confident when you're brought up as a girl, so to speak, and you should be doing the girly things, and then the school system just makes sure that this situation is persistent in your rest of your life. So I would say that there are many different levels of killing confidence in girls, but also of course in boys, to start with the young age, right? Would somebody else like to comment on that? I have a question to Rebecca, because you said that you mentioned a number of barriers that women encounter in their career, and most of them are obvious, but there's one that I usually have a problem with, not because it should be a barrier, but how to solve the problem, the maternity problem, if it's a problem, of course, because being a father of three, I know very well how demanding kids can be and how absorbing they can be. And do you know any let's say national systems that would solve this problem in favor of the women's career? It's definitely a difficult task for me, I would say.
Yeah, it's a really difficult task. I think we really need kind of government initiatives or kind of workplace initiatives that include things like childcare, so that women can go back to work, and there might be like a nursery or a creche there that is cheaper to use. A lot of the time, childcare is really, really expensive, and that's why kind of women decide to stay at home and be the kind of primary caregiver. So it really needs kind of government initiatives, but also kind of workplaces and businesses to offer that as well.
But do you know of positive examples of this type? Because
I do not, because I'm not a parent yet.
Yeah, sure.
Unfortunately. But I do know that some of the I think Scandinavian countries are quite good at
that's what I thought, right?
Yeah, like longer kind of parental leave and a more equal split between the father and the mother.
I think there's a mandatory leave for the father as well, just to share the responsibility, and it also helps in the career. Okay. Would somebody else like to get involved in the discussion?
I would like to add about this. Actually, I had talked with quite a, because I'm from Poland. I am from Institute of Fluid Flow Machinery, but I also am active in the Marie Curie Alumni Association, and we have a very strong general equality and diversity working group, which does a lot of things. So I have been attending their meetings and their sessions, and what was commonly voiced is that even though if the time taken off by the mother is compensated for in any way or whatever way, it is going to be challenging to do it, because if you take, like for instance, when you're applying for research grants, you are given 1 year or 1.5 years of leeway for the deadlines. But in reality, because of the hormonal changes, even the before time and the baby, so it's practically 2 years or 2.5 years of time that is kind of lost because of maternity. And this will be very hard to account to. There have been different strategies that they have used, but it's very difficult. And then it changes from person to person as well. Some people are affected more by their like during the pregnancy period, while some others are not. So it is very difficult to decide on what is the exact thing, but I guess it has to be dealt on personal level, I guess, with appropriate medical documents.
Sure, but without the institutional support, that's not enough, definitely, right?
Yeah, sure. There can be a lot more done, for sure.
We have lots of time for discussions, guys. I think the issue is very important and more or less touches all of us, all the parents and all the
Hi, Tymon, if I could add something.
Yes, of course.
I mean, a very general idea, but I thought that there is a saying that behind every man's success, there is a woman. I would go farther and I would say that the same way round. I mean, behind every woman's success, there must be a man. I mean, unless they protect us and they just encourage us to go forward, to develop ourselves, to educate ourselves and our children, we're not going to be successful. I mean, the success that Rebecca has been talking about is fantastic, but it must go together with the support of the men who either work with us or the men in our family, our husbands, and all our friends, because it must be like mutual. We need to support each other, I mean, men and women, in order to make a like real development, to go a step farther. Instead of competing who's better, we must admit that the fact that we're different, and men must support women, because we are equally, I mean, different, but equally fine, and we can succeed in the same fields, maybe sometimes another way, especially in the countries where we do not, just like in Poland, we do not have, the labor law does not allow men to share equal leave or maternity leave, but still fathers have been encouraged lately to take it, so they have been allowed to do it, which is a fantastic step forward for me. So I would like go for it.
Well, as a father, I would say not really encouraged. I was not encouraged. I was allowed, but no one at any step encouraged me. It was my decision based on the partnership with Isabella, and that was it was an obvious thing for me. But there was no encouragement, either institutional, financial, non-encouragement. It was, I had an opportunity, and I know of men who do not take it because it's not mandatory.
Mhm. So
because
do you
they
think
have,
it should be mandatory just to, because I don't know if it should be mandatory at first, maybe it would be good, just as you mentioned, to show, maybe we need some institutional advertisement or campaign to encourage, because I agree, many young fathers, or generally many fathers, I mean, they just don't know what goes with it. Sometimes maybe, I mean, which is natural, they might be afraid, just as some things are new to us. Taking a paternity leave might be something scary for some men, and maybe that might be the reason they would like to, but they don't know if how it's going to work, if they can manage, if they're not going to fail.
not a manly thing.
Exactly. So you see, maybe we need some institutional campaigns.
Well, that's for sure. Campaigns are always welcome, but
yes.
Any other thoughts about that, please? Rebecca, would you tell us something about the Marine Diaries then? And is it a coincidence that there are mostly women working there, or just?
I think so. I think we do have a lot of women, but there are a lot of young, kind of early career women in ocean science. It tends to be quite attractive for some reason, and yeah, there were a lot of people on my course, but I think as we've kind of formed a very female heavy team, more and more women have been attracted to volunteering for us because of that. So it's definitely not intentional, but it's a nice kind of just consequence, I guess.
I would like to ask you about the possibility that is maybe not a coincidence, but based on the recruitment for our PhD program over a number of years now, I can see that young women are far more interested in the world in many different ways than the male candidates. And perhaps that's the reason that you have so many women on your team, because it's sort of an adventure working for the Marine Diaries, if I'm not mistaken.
That's a nice way to put it. Yeah, I think there really is kind of greater concern for the environment from women, and kind of a desire to protect it rather than exploit it. And there's been kind of studies to show that. So I think because of the fact that we're in ocean conservation, then yeah, maybe that does play into attracting more women than men. And it's interesting what types of people with different skills that we get. So we also have some kind of videographers on our team, and they were more male basically, whereas a lot of the scientists and kind of writers and social media people are all girls. So there is definitely, like, even within the organization, there is a kind of a split.
Unavoidable, huh?
Yeah.
Well, that also makes us interesting. Would you tell us about some, I don't know, like the flagship project that you've been running?
Yeah, definitely. So the one that I mentioned in my speech is called the Marine Ecosystem Diaries, and basically it kind of came out of wanting to make the Marine Diaries more educational rather than purely communication based. So we've been planning it for about a year, like the whole of last year, over COVID. And the idea was to kind of spotlight different marine ecosystems. So it launched in January with kind of coral reefs. We've covered the open ocean or high seas, hydrothermal vents and the deep sea, kelp forests, seagrass beds, rock pools, and then we will also be covering mangroves, shellfish reefs, and polar seas.
All the exciting bits.
Yeah, all the exciting bits. And the idea is really to kind of highlight like why they're important, not only for just biodiversity, but also for like capturing carbon, the human kind of benefit of providing kind of income and resources, and mental health benefits as well, and to talk about why these different ecosystems are threatened, and what's being done to conserve them. And the idea is to kind of educate people about all of those things, and also give them kind of ideas for how they can help that ecosystem, whether that's through donating or getting involved in citizen science, or kind of taking steps that would maybe like reduce their carbon footprint, for example.
So you've seen a lot of ecosystems across the world. What is the state? I mean, it's like healthy, less healthy than expected? Would you?
I think there's a lot of ecosystems, and the environment and nature in general is quite degraded, and restricted to such a small kind of scale now, even with kind of the Great Barrier Reef, that's been slowly getting worse and worse as we're having more kind of coral bleaching, but it really does depend on the type of ecosystem that you're looking at. So for example, kelp forests, there are some that seem to be really, really resilient to climate change. Others where a combination of factors has kind of turned them into an urchin barren, which just won't go away. Seagrass can recover really, really quickly, but is under kind of so many threats, from coastal pollution to physical damage, and some places actually removing all of the seagrass to make their beaches kind of more pristine and attractive. So yeah, it really depends, but I think in general, terrestrial and ocean environments are kind of on the way down, unfortunately, and that's something that we need to change,
or at least try to change, so that we don't look at this degradation without doing anything, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, anyone would like to ask a question, comment, general comment, ask a question to Rebecca? We still have some time. Nobody? Hello? If that's yes, Ahmed, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I'm sorry I'm having a hard time with my camera, so I can't actually have my video on. Rebecca, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation, and also raising that strong concern that we are actually having, not only over there, but across the globe. So I believe it depends where do we live. For example, here in Afghanistan, we do have the same problem, and we are experiencing the same issues, not only in Europe, actually. For example, in Asia, we have the same problem. Even I believe that based on religious, sometimes it creates a strong problem for both men and women. What I would suggest that, as Dorota mentioned, we need to do a campaign for such kind of issues across the globe, and that might be a solution for having at least some kind of rising voices for the institutions and organizations where they actually not supporting this kind of idea across the globe. So that was actually a small comment that I would like to add.
Thank you very much. I think we all agree that such campaigns are very, very important, but while it would be sort of like spend less time with your buddies, go home, for example, right? A simple one. Somebody else would like to comment before we close the session? I don't see any Any question? Oh, Maciej, yes, please.
Okay, so I would like to add to this idea of some kind of campaign that maybe we should start to educate our children, because we don't allow boys to play with dolls, for example, and we can't demand that when these boys grow up, they will see the roles of women and men equal, when from the children they are saying that they can't do girl things and girl things can't do boy things. So I would do a campaign, but we should start from education. That's my conclusion.
I fully agree. Yes, Rebecca?
I was just going to add, I just remembered something from my childhood. My mum tried to actually give my brother, I think, Barbies to play with. I don't know if they're universally known, but dolls, basically. So I think there are definitely people, trying to educate children at a young age that, girls can do the same things that boys can do, and boys can do the same things that girls do. But I agree, we need a more of that on a kind of global scale. And I think the UN decade of ocean science is really trying to combat women and girls in science as well. So hopefully in the next 10 years we'll see real progress.
Certainly hope so. I mean, on the institutional level, you can also see, like in preschool, daycare, or somewhere there, boys' games and girls' games. I'm talking about the Polish experience, of course. We were very lucky with our preschool, which was really, really diverse in many different ways. But hearing from other people, it's very often, boys play with these toys, girls play with these toys, these games, that games. You can also see that the playground, that's really weird. Like, this is for boys, this is for girls. So it's really a widespread problem. But the educational institutions do not help much, at least from the Polish perspective, of course. Yeah. So campaigns and education, I fully agree. Okay. So I suppose we can close this session. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rebecca. I'm not too optimistic about myself. The future is female, so where is future for me? But on the other hand, there is light in the tunnel. A very dear friend of mine changed sex at the age of 59, so now he is a woman. So the future is also for me, perhaps. Okay, thank you very much. We're closing the session.
Thank you.
And welcome back, everybody, at 10 o'clock. Please follow the links for your own sessions or the sessions of your interest. And thank you again. And now we have a break, 20-minute break. Thank you very much. See you soon. Okay, it seems like it's 3:10 on my computer, and since we still have a couple other items on our agenda, I will start the summary of the poster session. Welcome, everyone. Thank you very much for the poster presentations. We had a bit of a problem how to organize it in the online version, but then we discovered in December, we discovered the beauty of Padlet and learned how to use it. And this way, the poster session was easily organized by us, or sort of easily organized by us. Some numbers: we received a total of 23 posters. 19 were in the category of natural sciences, 3 from the social sciences, and 1 for the women and girls in science. So most of them were from Poland, Polish universities, institutes, and organizations, and 1 poster from Italy. a variety of topics. I will go through them in a moment. Two of them were on COVID, and I'll share my screen and we can go together through the poster session, but I cannot see it here. Why can't I see it here since I have it here? Let's see. Oh, there we go. Sure. I hope it's visible now to everyone. Okay,
Yes.
so it's okay. Bingo. So let's start with the one from the top of our Padlet. Study of guided wave coupling phenomena and optical fibers. We had 20 people who had a look at that. Would someone like to ask any questions and or comment on that one? Well, they were displayed starting 9th of June, which is the beauty of an online version of poster session. So I'm pretty sure that some people who wanted to discuss these posters had a chance, and it's visible in the discussions underneath. But it's the last chance to ask questions in person here. Of course, you can contact the authors later on. If not, let's go to the next one, the family functioning during the COVID-19 pandemic and perception of young adults, a very up-to-date topic, and we have a fair amount of comments and the discussion going on. So would someone still like to comment and or ask any questions?
So I am the author, and maybe I will say a few words.
Sure, please do. Be very brief because we have only 20 minutes.
Okay, so I will say really quickly that my study is about family living in the time of COVID-19. It covered 20 young adults. I asked them to complete the David Olson Faces 4 questionnaire, referring to the time before the pandemic and referring to the nowadays. I have 3 statistically significant results. There is an increase in flexibility, which is positive because families are coping with pandemic.
Excuse me, I'll have to interrupt you because you're talking about what's in the poster, and we had a chance to look at it in 48 hours right now, so that's not relevant. If you would like to comment on the comments,
okay,
or give like a final,
sorry.
Yeah, we don't have time for the poster presentation at this point.
Okay,
right?
I have commented all my responses to the questions in comments are in the comment section. Sorry.
Okay, so no further comments or
Okay.
suggestions. Okay, thank you very much. Would someone like to ask Maciej any extra question at this point? I don't.
May I ask just one question?
Sure.
Yes, if I remember correctly, were the youngsters who were questioned, who took part in a questionnaire, only students of psychology or a variety of young people?
No, they are not. They are not only students. They are high school students, students of linguistics, of psychology. They are not only psychology students.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
I'll have to switch to the next one. Relevant methods for neurotoxicity in particular matter, a case study. Would anyone like to ask or comment on that one? I don't see or hear anyone. Okay, the next one is by Zuzanna Zyske. Effects. Oh boy, I'm not gonna read that, I'm sorry. But would anyone like to comment or ask questions for this one? Don't see any questions or comments. The next one, molecular characterization of a family A DNA polymerase and so forth and so forth. Any comments on that one? We have 28 people who looked at that. No, thank you very much. The next one by Sandra Fritsch. We don't have any comments or questions. There was a discussion going on, as you can see. Okey-doke. The next one, a meal and the flesh, an impact of individualization versus categorization on instrumental use of animals. Pretty important issue. Would someone like to comment on that or ask any questions? No, thank you very much. The next one by Natalia Lewandowska and co-authors. Any questions, comments, discussion? No, I don't see any. How about the one by Stefan Tukaj and co-authors? Don't see any. Environmental DNA, a case study of marine biodiversity monitoring on past and present. Oh, that's actually from IOPAN. Any comments, questions, suggestions? There was a small conversation going on. Thank you very much. No. Another one is by Ligia Panasik and Konrad Ocalewicz. Any questions, comments? Can't see any. How about this one? Gosh, I'm not gonna read this. Do we have Natalia Piekarczyk or somebody from the team?
Yes, I'm here.
Could you read the first word, please?
Galacto-oligosaccharides.
Gosh, how much time did you need to learn how to say it so smoothly?
A few months.
I can imagine. Any comments or questions? It's a great topic, as somebody wrote.
And I am agree with it.
Yeah, I bet you do. Okay. Thank you very much. How about seasonal variability of mercury concentration and so forth by Angela Popławska and co-authors? Anyone would like to comment or ask any questions? We had some conversation going on. Okay, thank you very much. The general mood of psychology students during the COVID-19 pandemic. Does anyone have any comments on that one? Do we have Victoria or Iga or Alexander with us?
Yes, we hear.
Okay, super. So is it really bad?
To be honest, the difference is statistically significant, but it's visible, but there's not this negative tone. We found the increase in some aspects that the conclusion is that the adaptation process continues. So.
How is it with the alcohol consumption? Increased or decreased due to the pandemic?
Well, we haven't studied that, but I think it's a great idea to
Come on, general mood, that's one of the issues.
Well, according to the general mood scale, it's not included, so.
Really? Oh, that's interesting. Would somebody like to comment or say anything about this one? If not, thank you very much. Leaving from a coal-based economy in Europe, a very, very important issue by our colleagues from University of Łódź. Any comments for that one? Do we have Olena or Kacper or Natalia with us? I guess not. Thank you. Okay, the effect of age and dimethyl, I suppose. Oh gosh, no, I'm not gonna continue with by Katarzyna Sawicka and the co-authors. Any comments? Somebody would like to ask questions? Don't hear and see anybody. How about this one by Stefan Tukaj and colleagues? Seems like rather very expert-wise work. I don't hear anybody. I don't see anybody. A small discussion was going on. How about this one by Maya Sochocka and co-authors? No questions, no comments. How about this one by Monika Szatkowska and co-authors? Faculty of Biology, University of Gdansk. Any comments? Don't see here anyone. How about the recalibration of mercury fractionation method using and so forth by Bartłomiej Wielman and co-authors? Do you have any comments or questions here? I don't see anybody. How about the level and impact of molecular chaperones probably. Any comments in here? Don't see anybody. Another one by the University of Gdansk team by Karolina Wiśniewska and colleagues. We have the Sanfilippo disease once again. Any comments in here? Do we have Karolina with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Karolina. So how important is the Sanfilippo disease in a sense of like, let's say, statistical for the humanity? Or why is this disease so important that you study it in your department?
Sanfilippo is rare disease, so there is no many patients, but it's still a medical and economical problem. So I think it's important to talk about it and try to treat.
Okay. Thank you very much. So how about the machine learning characterization of stars binary classification based on predicted habitability of exoplanets? Do we have René with us by any chance? If I'm not mistaken, René is 6 hours behind us. Do you have any comments on this one? I don't see anyone. As you can see, we had a great array of different works, really interesting posters. My personal experience is that normally we have the posters presented during the conference day in Sopot at the Institute of Oceanology. So as a matter of fact, the Padlet situation allowed us to keep them for a couple of days and much wider viewing of all the posters. I have a feeling, or rather, I should say I'm perfectly sure that we will always from now on, we'll always use Padlet as an option in any type of conference, because it widens the audience dramatically. Which is one of the positive, I would say, if we can say about the pandemic and the positive aspects, but I would say this one would be listed among the positive aspects, that we discovered these tools that allow us to participate in conferences in much larger numbers than before the pandemic conditions. So the next year's conference will be definitely in the hybrid mode, whatever that means at the moment, because I feel like we are discovering the new paradigm for conference and meetings due to the pandemic conditions we experienced in last year. Okay, this is the last chance to have some comments or questions about the posters. If somebody would like to make a general comment or particular comment about particular work, Oh, sorry, we have one more here. I don't see any. In that case, thank you very much for your presentations. Thank you for joining me at this session. I'll close the session at this moment and stay with us because we are just about to start Women and Girls in Science plenary session. So enjoy it. Thank you once again and stay with us.
So let's start the debate. I would like to welcome everyone present at the debate, Women and Girls in Science, which is a part of International Sopot Youth Conference entitled Where the World is Heading. The organizer of the conference is the Sopot Science Association, and the partner of the debate is Gdańsk Entrepreneurship Incubator Starten and 100 Inspiring Physicists initiative, whose goal is to inspire and empower the next generation of fierce female leaders here on Earth and beyond. My name is Karolina Pierzynowska, and I will be honored to lead this debate. I am a molecular biologist and an assistant professor in the Department of Molecular Biology at the University of Gdańsk. I am really happy to introduce you such a great guest that I will talk with about their experience from scientific career. Our first guest is Professor Ewa Łojkowska, biotechnologist, specialist of molecular phytopathology, head of Department of Plant Protection and Biotechnology at the Intercollegiate Faculty of Biotechnology of University of Gdańsk and Medical University of Gdańsk. Professor Ewa Łojkowska is an author of numerous scientific publications and patents. She is also a chairman of Biotechnology Committee of Polish Academy of Science, a member of Academia NIT, European Database of Outstanding Women Academic, and coordinator of European Union Horizon 2020 project, modifying institution by developing gender equality plan at the University of Gdańsk. Our second guest is Dr. Agata Kołodziejczyk, neurobiologist with a space mission. Dr. Agata Kołodziejczyk is a co-founder of Space Garden and Analog Astronaut Training Center, creator of analog bases for simulating space mission in Poland, as well as organizer of 26 lunar and Martian analog space missions. She is author of numerous educational and scientific publications on chronobiology, space biology, and neurobiology, and member of many organizations such as International Astronautical Federation or International Space Agency. Does everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. And the last one, I have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Sandra Tippenhauer, a physicist, ocean, earth, and space enthusiast. Her many years of research from the period of studies to the postdoc period combine elements of physics and oceanography. She developed a processing algorithm for a turbulence profiler mounted on an autonomous underwater investigation mixing in deep ocean canyon. During several expeditions from the tropical and the polar oceans, she gained broad experience in working and living on research vessels. I would now ask a panelist to say a few words about themselves and their research. First, I would like to invite Professor Ewa Łojkowska.
Okay, I would like to share my screen. Okay, good afternoon. As Karolina mentioned already, I am working in the Intercollegiate Faculty of Biotechnology at the University of Gdańsk and Medical University of Gdańsk, and maybe I will say a few words about my education. I am educated as a plant physiologist and plant biochemist, but now my work is concentrated in plant pathology, and I go through different scientific institution, spending some time in Toruń, Bonin, and Poznań. And then I was proceeding my postdoc in University of Wisconsin-Madison in US. And I also have been a visiting professor at the Institut National de Sciences Appliquées at Lyon in France. And for several years, I was teaching also some courses at the University of Perugia in Italy. It was also mostly plant biotechnology and plant pathology courses. I am full professor at the University of Gdańsk, and I have been a dean of the faculty during 8 years. But now I'm concentrated mostly on my scientific work. It's plant pathology, plant protection, and biotechnology of plants. And in this area, my interests are in molecular pathology, development of the method for plant pathogenic bacteria detection, identification, and differentiation. I'm also interested in molecular plant microbe interaction during the infection initiation and development. And also my team is involved in comparative genomics and transcriptomic study for the identification of virulence factors determining pathogenicity of plant pathogenic bacteria. The other group of the studies that we are proceeding are connected with the secondary plant metabolites like naphthophenols that indicate anti-cancer activity, and we are also involved in elucidation of the coumarin function in plant resistance to abiotic and biotic stress. And plant pathogenic bacteria are one of the biotic stress for the plants. Why we are interested in plants? Because if there are no pressure of the pathogen, you have such a beautiful plantation like on the top of the screen. And if there's a big pressure of plant pathogenic bacteria, we have not yield at all. And sometimes losses can be almost 50% of our yield of the crops. This is quite important when you think about the number of people that are all over the world hungry, and the problem of food production is still very, very actual. Maybe not in Europe, but in a lot of countries, it's really important. And because of this, we are involved in different kinds of projects, national, but also international projects. For the years, we are involved in the project connected with the taxonomy and epidemiology of some of these plant pathogenic bacteria like Pectobacterium endicia, but we are also involved in some global project connected with the crop microbiome and healthy soil. Then a part of this, my activity connected with plant pathology, I am also involved in responsible science and gender equality. I am very interested in women career. And because of this, I'm involved for 21 years already in the Polish program L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science. And from the few years, I'm also involved in international program, International Raising Talents. At the faculty, I was involved in structural transformation to attain responsible bioscience project. And recently, like Carolina mentioned, I'm a coordinator of a big project, European project under the Horizon 2020, modifying institution by developing gender equality plan at the University of Gdańsk. And I think it's all that I would like to say in this moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now I would like ask Dr. Agata Kołodziejczyk to introduce herself and her research.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here among such a great women and, of course, men. I would also like to share my screen to make it easier. I think. Can you see it now? Oh, sorry, no. One more time. Yes, and let's go here to my keynote. I will try to make a view full screen. So basically, what I'm doing now is space in practice. And I will explain you in a moment why I want to promote space in practice, not only in theory, in kind of lecture type, but also in a practical way. Of course, it is because when we are using our brain, it works like a parachute, and then it starts to really work. That is why I mean practice. So it is not excluding, for example, theoretical thinking about black holes or black matter. So my pathway of life, and especially my adventure with science, comes from very, very, very early beginning of my life, because I was born as a daughter of astronomers, and this implicated a lot of things that are happening now. When I was at the high school, I already was active with my parents' astronomy association, which was called Astronomia Nova Association. Maybe you know, you heard about it. And of course, the local section of astronomy lovers in Częstochowa. And then I was studying biology. Why not astronomy, maybe you can ask. Well, I realized that astronomy is not complete. It's only full of beautiful theories and of course, very, very wise hypothesis to be studied, but to me it was lacking of some practice. That is why I decided to study universum inside our bodies, which is of course related with biology. And then I went to study biology in Kraków at the Jagiellonian University. At the same time, I realized that I lack teamwork. Teamwork means that, yeah, I wanted to learn how to work in the team, and I started to attend the orchestra of University of Space and Technology AGH, of Science and Technology AGH. And then I made my PhD in Stockholm. I went abroad, which was a wonderful experience for me as a young scientist. And I fully recommend all people to go abroad at least minimum for 6 months to get some new perspective, new horizons of view, and how science looks like in other centers than the local centers. And especially Stockholm, Sweden, it's very good also to have kids because there is a great social. So there I started to have 3 kids. As a doctor, I already have 3 kids. And it was very easy. Interestingly, it was very easy for me to handle intensive neuroscientific studies at Stockholm University and to raise kids. There was absolutely not a problem. Then I came back to Poland, to my alma mater, Jagiellonian University, where I made my first postdoc. This is a typical for scientific career. After PhD studies, it is important to change location to get a new perspective, new view, new environment. And then, of course, I developed still in neuroscience, but more in aggression mechanisms, which was a really, really interesting stage of my life. And then it was also critical stage for me with 3 kids to decide that I cannot no longer be so good neuroanatomist that I used to be. And I realized that it will be better to change my specialization expertise into emerging in Poland astrobiology. So astrobiology is still a very wide area that many people can develop, even having 3 kids. And there is not so big competition, and there is still a lot to do there. And then I started to organize Meet the Space conferences just to know the society, all people interested in astrobiology, in space in Poland. And this was very interesting because immediately I knew more than 100 people from Poland who were doing this kind of job. And then, of course, I was attending Polish Rocket Society for Science Foundation to gain as much experience as possible to be good in sharing this new area of recognition. And then I went for the postdoc, another postdoc to European Space Agency. This postdoc gave me a lot of inspirations and a lot of newly developed ideas that I'm now continuing at the very professional level. So during my postdoc at European Space Agency, the whole project about sunlight simulator for isolated spaces, it was just the concept level of consideration. I wrote some publications, but then I started to find some collaborators to indeed to produce this sunlight simulator and to test this sunlight simulator on humans, on plants, on animals everywhere, and to really see if this hypothesis that I had in my head is really working, and if this light can be replacing sunlight in spaceships on the moon or on Mars. So this was very interesting to initiate this kind of project, and this project led me to establish 2 analog bases in Poland. So first it was Lunares base, which is now in Piła. I'm no longer working there, but I started this habitat. I was participating in building this habitat literally with my hands, and of course to run the first analog simulations in Poland. So it was very important. In 2016 we started, and now we have 2021. We already have many people through all the world coming to Poland and training with us to be a commercial astronauts. So this was a great adventure that led us now. Now we have a company together with my partner, Analog Astronaut Training Center. We are also participating in a private space agency, which is established in India, but we collaborate worldwide with Roscosmos, NASA, JAXA, all kinds of space agencies now. So of course we are also, besides running analog simulations, having our laboratory, we are running stratospheric missions. So here, for example, you see the capsule with several biological experiments to be carried out 30 kilometers above. And here are all our analog astronauts that we trained in our habitat, our laboratory. All these people participated in subjective time perception studies. All these people were also testing our sunlight simulator system. What we do now, we are doing several different kinds of experiments. We collaborate with many universities, research centers, space agencies, as I told you before, in order to gain as much data as possible to enable commercial astronautics, to enable space tourism. And of course, we are running several illusions. For me, as a neurobiologist, it is a very interesting topic. For example, we run time illusions in our habitat. The habitat is isolated from sun, obviously, and isolated from time. We have multiple sensors. We implemented artificial intelligence to support our control of the mission. And we finally evaluated, we standardized all our analog simulations, our experiments inside the habitat. Here you see some of our analog astronauts. And during each mission, which takes either 1 week or 2 weeks in isolation, we measure, we collect plenty of data which can be correlated, and we can gain a lot of interesting results. as a side project, we tried now to develop underwater habitat, which will be the first underwater habitat in Europe. And because of this, we are developing new devices, for example, this new device to rescue people underwater. We also develop pressurized spacesuits together in collaboration with Professor Cameron Smith from Department of Anthropology, Portland State University. And this is the implementation of our sunlight simulator in the habitat. Soon in next week, we are presenting first time the data out of these experiments. So this is the influence of this type of light on serotonin, melatonin, physiological parameters, and circadian clock. And with that, I would like to finish. I'm sorry if I made it maybe too long.
No, it was not too long. Thank you very much for your detailed presentation. And now, please tell us a few words about yourself and your research, Dr. Sandra Tipperhauer.
Yes, I try to share my screen. Can you see something already?
Yes.
Is it full screen?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Okay, yeah, thank you for the introduction. I studied physics and finally decided to do my diploma thesis in laser physics, where I was working at an experiment where we set up an instrument that should count first trap and then count single atoms. And one part of my responsibilities was to develop a miniaturized version of the laser setup, of one part of the laser setup. And that is what you see on the left-hand side. So it started with drawing tiny pieces for mounting all kinds of optical instrumentation. Then they were manufactured, and then I was able to set them up. And that was just one tiny part of a laser setup that was filling, a small room. So there was a table full of optical devices. The table was 4 meters long and 2 meters wide. I really enjoyed this work, but after 2 years in the darkness, because when you work with lasers, it's dark all the time, I decided to look outside and to go for the PhD into physical oceanography. And there I worked with an autonomous underwater vehicle, which you see here on the right-hand side and on the bottom. And with this instrument, I studied mixing in a deep ocean channel. I was able to go on a few other research cruises and got experience with all kinds of oceanographic instrumentation. And after the PhD, I moved to the Alfred Wegener Institute, where I then worked in the physical oceanography of polar seas. And there I again worked with an autonomous underwater vehicle, a different one in this case. And there we integrated 2 new instruments into the vehicle. The engineer did the hardware part, I did the software part. Then we did some tests, went back, improved, and finally were able to do measurements in the polar ocean. And this is something that I like about my work, that I can have the full process of having the idea, then finding the right instrument, building the right instrument, and finally using it in the field. And after working with the AUV, I now moved on to being responsible for the CTD, which is one of the central instruments of physical oceanography. The CTD is short for conductivity, temperature, and depth. And from the conductivity, we can derive the salinity. And with salinity and temperature, we have the basic parameters of physical oceanography. There are several kinds of CTDs, but the one that I'm responsible for is the big rosette one that you see on the upper right. It's a big round frame with a lot of water bottles. And the sensors are in the middle. So the picture that you see in the center top picture here. And it's connected to a wire. So you can, when you lower it to the ocean floor, so it does a profile from top to bottom, you see the data live stream in the control room. That looks more or less like the picture on the lower right. And you see a profile of conductivity, of salinity, temperature, and in this case also chlorophyll and turbidity. You can also have an oxygen sensor, for example. And with responsible, that means that I take care of the hardware, that I prepare it for the next mission, that I train people to go on missions if I don't go myself. I do go myself a lot, and I'm also responsible for the data quality, processing, quality control, and all kinds of related instruments that are needed for that. And that's already it. Thank you. You are still muted. At least I cannot hear you.
Sorry. Okay, I want to thank you very much for your presentation. And first of all, I would like to thank all the panelists for agreeing to participate in our debate. So I have one information for an audience. If you have any question, don't hesitate to write the question on the chat. I will write it. But now let's start the debate. I would like to ask the first question. Did you know as a girl that you would like to be a scientist? Did you have any role model? Perhaps I would ask a Dr. Kołodziejczuk for an answer, if you can.
Yes, this is very easy to me because, as I told you before, I'm a daughter of astronomers. So each dinner, each lunch, each breakfast and night and day, they were speaking about science. So this is very easy. Of course, I had models in my parents.
Okay, thank you very much. I can say you that I had the same because my dad also is a employer on the Technical University of Gdańsk, so I had the similar situation, but discipline is not similar to him. So, Dr. Sandra Tippenhauer, did you have such plans in your childhood?
Not really, I must say. I think I was a bit further off. I did not have parents who were working in science. So I think, thinking back, I did not have such a clear picture of what it is to be a scientist. I did know that I would want to work with Earth or with space related. I was interested in biology, so I knew the direction I would want to go. And somehow looking backward, it makes sense that it's science, but looking forward, I didn't know that I want to be a scientist.
Okay, thank you. And Professor Ewa Łojkowska, did your dream of being a scientist appear in a childhood or later?
Well, I think it's quite early. However, my parents were not a scientist. My mother was a teacher of chemistry and my father was agriculturist by the education. But as I remember, I very early decided I would like to work in biochemistry because I was interested in the mystery of life, in fact. But I was not decided yet that I would like to concentrate on plants. I think it's only during my studies I decided I don't want to work with animals. I prefer to work with plants and then microbial. Then I think it was quite early when I decided to work in science, but it was not the direct decision what kind of science at the beginning.
Okay. So in conclusion that the dream about being a scientist can develop later on very early if you have parents or any relation with this in your childhood. Okay, so moving to the next question on supporting female scientists. What programs or initiative to support women in science have you encouraged in your scientific career or in scientific discipline? What is their purpose? Certainly, Professor Łojkowska knows the answer to this question, so maybe.
Okay, I should say that in '77, when I finished my study, when I was graduated, there were not programs that were especially dedicated to women. But in fact, I have not a problem with this. I think I also have my daughter when I was preparing my PhD, and later on, I decided I would like to work in science, and it was a good opportunity to have a postdoc in United States. In fact, I went to United States without family because this time it was not possible to leave Poland to United States with the family. They only later joined me. But I think this was, well, in my case, it was not necessary, the special program, but I think the special programs are really good. And if I can say a few words about the program that I'm involved, about the L'Oréal for Women in Science, I would like to present maybe shortly some information about this program. Okay, maybe I will just describe the program. This program was established, the program L'Oréal UNESCO for Women in Science was established in 1999 in France by L'Oréal, but Poland was the first country that has national program for women in science, and it was quite interesting case. It was because one of the Polish scientists, Professor Anna Podhajska from our university, was nominated for this international award. She was not able to obtain this award, but she was coming back to Poland and decided that we have to have this kind of program. And in fact, we are very successful with this program. From the 20 years, we have more than 100 finalists and stipendiates that obtain grants. And what is important, the money that these girls, scientists obtain are not dedicated to any special things. They can spend this money as they want. And the idea was that this money should help women to take care on children, for example, to take care on other things that they think are necessary for them. Then this program is very well established in Poland, but also all over the world. And I should say that within this program, every year there's award for 5 women, 1 from each continent. And the laureates of this international program for women in science are a very good example for young women, because already 4 of them obtained Nobel Prize 2 or 3 years after after they obtained this L'Oréal Award for Women in Science. And between them, there is also Jennifer Doudna and Emmanuelle Charpentier, the last Nobel Prize winner, that both of them obtained this L'Oréal award 2 years before the award for the Nobel Prize. I just would like to say that with this program, we have a lot of laureates, as I mentioned, in Poland, and I can see that the career of these women are going very well. A lot of them are now in different boards, and they have a lot of influence on the development of their institution as a dean, so vice rectors, or they are also members of different kinds of entity. Then I think this kind of support program is very good. Also the other part, the other idea is that these girls, the scientists, present the good example of women scientists for the young children, girls. And I think it's also help girls to decide to be a scientist. Maybe this will be all that I would like to say about this program. And of course, we have this program every year. This year we have already about 200 candidates, and we have to choose from them 6 laureates.
Thank you very much. And can you tell us what can the laureate benefit from them, except the money and for example, any employment?
Yeah, I think it's also a lot of press release about the scientific work that these women proceed, and this is also very important. As I mentioned already, it's a very good example for the young women, that women can do a really good science and they can be a happy person with family and science. I think this is also a very important part of this program, because a lot of our laureates have families with children, they have children, and I should say that Carolina is also one of the laureates of this program 2 years ago. Last year she obtained the award. Then there also, we have a partner in this program, there's Polish Academy of Science and Ministry of Education and Science, and every laureate obtained also some money to travel for the international conference. There's some extra benefits of the program. And I think it gave them quite a lot of good experience to be the laureate of this program.
So as a winner of such program, I can also tell you that there is a lot of many benefits that resulted from being a laureate of L'Oréal UNESCO, for example. First of all, the promotion of the laureate's research allows people from the country and from abroad to contact and establish any cooperation. And I received at least 10 such offers. And some of them included research in my science discipline, but others outside my discipline requires a new knowledge and learning new methods. So it was very developmental for me. But on the other hand, when it comes to media, I had sometimes unpleasant situation that resulted from the fact that I am a woman. For example, on one of the websites, under the article describing my success, there was a comment, I wonder if she can cook. So I sometimes think, and maybe do you think we should respond to such comments or not? Professor Ewa Ojkowska, do you have any opinion?
I think it depends on you, but of course, I think we should say something, because at the beginning of this program, maybe I should underline that the program, as you know, is a L'Oréal UNESCO program. At the beginning, there was not a very, very good outcome of the program, because a lot of people said, well, this is a program especially for women, because they are not enough good to be in the general program for women and men. And there were also comments like, this is a program for the creams, for the shampoo, for the things like this. And they just ask, what is the award in this program? But I think after 20 years of the program, now this program has a very good reputation, because as I mentioned already, a lot of women, they really make the scientific career very early, very quickly. We are awarding people on this degree on the level of PhD, on the level of habilitation, and all our laureates are making progress in their scientific career. This is really a very good outcome of the program also, that all these laureates are successful later on. But of course, you also always can have some bad comments, but I don't care. At the beginning, when I was involved in this program, there were a lot of bad comments, it's true.
Okay. You mentioned about this, that this is a program for women and not women and the men. And I know that some people say that the fact that this program is dedicated to women derogate them by suggesting that they are not unable to fight men equality. It is worth discussing this topic with people who have such opinion or not. Maybe Dr. Sandra Tippenhauer, do you have your opinion?
I'm very sorry, I just read the question in the chat.
Okay, sorry.
And could you just, maybe, what was your question now?
Okay, my question was that some people think that the programs just for women are not good for women because derogate them by suggesting that they are unable to fight with men in one program.
Yeah, that is a very tough topic, I would say. I think there's a lot of scientific proof that this is simply not true, that there are these unconscious biases and all these things, these like the glass roof. So the reason why women do not progress to the top are there, they are real. So of course it would be nice if we would not need those promotions, but I think this is simply not the world we are in yet. So we somehow need to promote women. How we can do that is another topic, whether you have quota or not. But I think it is certainly needed, and it's, yeah, there is scientific fact that it's not only that women well, wouldn't do it because, or that women cannot get the job because they are just good. They are good, but they still don't get the jobs.
Okay. Dr. Agata Kołodziejczyk, do you think similar or opposite?
Yes, in this case, of course, I think similar, especially that there are many women who would never decide to continue science without this kind of opportunities.
Okay. So moving to the next question. Sometimes I was wondering if being a woman could have an impact on academic career. Have you encountered any problems in your academic career related to being a woman, or maybe there was some advantages? So maybe Dr. Agata Kołodziejczyk, if you are here.
Okay, well, in general, I never seen differences, but of course, especially in space sector, there are mostly men. So of course it was like I was unique, kind of unique in this environment, and it was not bad, it was even better. Yes, but so I never experienced, fortunately, on myself this kind of dominant treatment by men, or at least maybe I didn't see, maybe I was too stupid to see this. Yes, but always I was doing what I wanted, and I never had problems with men. So yeah, I simply was stubborn and I never had problems with them.
Okay. And Dr. Sandra Tippenhauer, what do you can say in your discipline?
I think this is very hard also to answer because I just know my life as it is. I don't know how it would be if I would be male. So, and I only had one experience that was not too nice, but that was in school even. So that is a long time ago, where a teacher made a comment about physics that women would not do physics later. But yeah, already in that moment, I thought, okay, we were talking only about 3 disciplines, and about those 3, I thought, okay, if I do one of those 3, it will be physics. So maybe I was already stubborn also and just followed what I wanted to do. But I certainly think that those comments sometimes still happen. And this is also something what I hear from friends. It's not often, but it does happen. And it is a big, how do you say, the disencouragement. So it just makes you maybe insecure whether you fit in there where you would like to be.
Okay, but your workplace is a ship, is it?
Sometimes. I'm still mostly in the office at home, like a normal job, but I go to expeditions and they are then up to 2 or 3 months long.
Okay, but talking about ships, what about its adaptation to women?
Yeah, well, by now it is normal that there are women on ships, so it's not that you are the only one or so. Also, I'm working on the Polarstern, where I'm going now with mostly the teams are mixed. So it's not only physics, it's interdisciplinary, and there are a lot of biologists and all kinds of other disciplines, and there are usually more women in those areas. So if you just look broadly at the ship, there are women there. Still on the leadership level in my area, there are not too many women. And in the ship's crew also not, so there's no female captain also, but yeah, this is a different discipline, so yeah,
okay.
Maybe don't say there's something there.
And one more question about this aspect. Could you please say if a woman's work in extreme weather condition is more difficult than a man or not?
Well, in general, not really. It depends on what you do. If it comes to pure physical strength, of course, there are limits, but also for males, maybe they can lift or pull something that is slightly heavier, but if it's really heavy, you need an engine anyways. And another thing is clothing, because usually, well, there are certain types of clothing. We get clothing from our institute. That's a very good thing. But if you are in any case out of the normal size, of course you have an issue. And that only applies to men. They can have bigger feet than usual or bigger hands or something. But there are certain issues, especially in the field, not on the ship, but on the ice, for example, where females have, well, other issues than men. And those are not really addressed at the moment. They could be, there are different suits, for example, that could fit other purposes, but it's a topic that I think no one really likes to talk about yet. For example, if you're 12 hours on the ice, you have to pee at some point maybe, and this is something that no one really wants to talk about, but we have to somehow, and we have to find a solution for that. And it does not need to be embarrassing. If you just, well, find a solution and get over it, it's fine, right? So it shouldn't be an issue, but it still is.
Okay, thank you very much. And Professor Ewa Łykowska, I would like to raise the topic of postdoctoral internships, which are very desirable in many scientific careers in molecular biology or biotechnology. I think that we know that the unwritten law of some institutes or universities prohibits the employment or transfer to a higher position of employees who do not complete such an internship.
Mm-hmm.
So after PhD, women are often forced to choose between motherhood or an internship. What do you think about this? And would we fight this approach, as not everyone wants to delay the motherhood for another 2 years of postdoctoral fellowship?
Well, there's two different possibilities. I think it's not good to move your mothership for later years, because it's not a good idea. But in fact, today in a lot of programs, especially in EU program from Framework 6, 7, and Horizon 2020, there are a special grant for the families. Then it's possible to go for the postdoc with all the family. Of course, it depends, because usually your partner have also work, and it's make things more complicated. But finally, I know several cases when the whole family were going abroad for the postdocs. And for example, when the partner is informatician, it's easy. I just have this kind of case in my lab with my postdocs. I think, well, it's difficult for women. It's definitely more difficult for women than for men, but I believe it's necessary to have some experience in another lab and abroad, because this make a lot of new experience, a lot of new, you have to work in very different environment. Then it's make you more flexible also. Then I think in general, it's a very good idea, but of course it's more difficult for women than for men, always. We are not equal. Usually majority of the duties connected with the family are connected with women. Women are doing all this work. And I left for the United States when my daughter was 7 years old. And even today, when I am interviewing the journalists that are feminists, ask me how you can do this, how you can left your daughter with her father and going for postdoc to United States. And they never will give this question to men, because this is normal that man is going for postdoc and left family, where left his wife or mother of his children. But I think anyway, this is much easier now than years ago, because now there are special programs to support family, and all family can go abroad to work for some time at least outside of the country in different lab. But also it's possible to work in another laboratory in the same country. It's not necessary to go abroad, according to my knowledge.
Okay. And what do you think about not long internship, but a lot of short internships? It is okay in your opinion or not?
I think it's okay. It depends, because a lot of time, this is the case in my lab. We have a very long collaboration with the laboratory in ISYC Lyon. And my my PhD students were going for 3 months because of family also. And if you are going several times to the same place or to the place where you well know, it's okay. You can do quite a lot of good work, even during the very short period of time. And also they can be visiting other direction. People are coming to our lab from outside, and also is another kind of experience. I think, well, it depends what you mean short, but if you think about 2-3 months, I think it's good. It's another experience. It's very different than when you're working 2 years, of course, but it's a new experience also, and also make you more flexible and more adjusting to new conditions.
Yeah, because it can be easier for a young mother, for example. And Dr. Agata Kołodziejczyk, do you have the same experience in your field or not?
Well, I was traveling with my whole family for a postdoc to Netherlands, and I must tell you that I decided with my husband that we can move whenever in the world until our kids will be at the age of primary school, because primary school still it is just peanuts. But of course, at the secondary school level, when they are adolescenting, when they are maturing, we need stabilization. We need to be settled already somewhere. And this was very good decision that we went to Netherlands with all 3 kids then. And they learned Dutch language in months. And they musical schools there, and we really were involved in this community life, and it was a very, very, not only considering science, all good job, good money. Of course, my husband is a computer scientist, so he found a job immediately. And especially when we are young postdoc people, then it is not a big problem with finding a job. Of course, you need to have a special expertise, but yeah, it was easy. And for our kids, it was also easy to adjust to new conditions. And even now, when we are back in Poland, they still keep some friendships with Dutch people, and they still use this language. They of course, they were in Sweden before. They're young, so they know a bit of Swedish, and it is really interesting for them. They develop beautifully. They are one of the best students now, the pupils now in the primary school. They have completely no problem with language. So I must tell you that for whole family postdoc outside for longer time is even better, because you really are having a second life, a second adventure, second house, second friends, and so on. So I would fully recommend to move with whole family for 1-2 years and just enjoy.
Okay, thank you very much for your opinion. So after your opinion, I have one conclusion, that a woman scientist should have a husband with a job related to computer science.
Yeah, this is true.
Okay, so let's move on to the next topic. I would like to talk for a moment about feminatives. We work in different countries. In Poland, there has been a discussion for several years about the use of feminatives in the names of professions, or how language influences our perception of reality. And Dr. Sandra Tippenhauer, could I ask you what this is like in Germany? Are feminatives used there, for example, at the university, or not?
Yes, they are used, and there's a big discussion about that. But at the moment, we are actually moving to a version which is neutral. So in a way that does not address the gender at all. This is a bit hard to translate. So I think I just don't try. But this is something that sounds weird in the first moment when you hear it. But I think once you got used to it, it's totally fine. It's, then it just takes the full topic out of the discussion. So you could address all people like this. Maybe it is like this. You don't address the females or the males, you just address people.
Okay.
But I think this issue is something that is often leading to distraction, because I think language is certainly important. And I find it annoying myself to talk like this, but it still is important. And so many people complain about this topic, that they should use it, or that they don't like it, or that it's useless or whatever. But I think, yeah, it is just a side field of the problem. So if you talk about this and discuss about this and maybe even fight about this topic, you are distracted from the real issue. And this is the downside of this topic, I find. I find it important to address it, but it will not solve the issue, and it's not the main issue.
Okay. What was the public response to their introduction to the universities, for example?
Yeah, I think some people are totally fine with it and just think, okay, we just use that now and get used to it, and that's it. And other people don't like it. So this is what I would say, but I don't have numbers, so I don't know.
Okay, thank you. And let's move to Poland, where university feminatives are not commonly used. It is good or bad? Professor Łykowska, could you say something about this from your perspective? Because public opinion seems to be quite negative in this aspect in Poland, I think.
I think the public opinion is very negative, but I think the young people are more and more adapted to this. And I think we have to be used to this. We have no problem with feminative when we are speaking about not such eminent jobs, but when we speak about the university professors, for example, or directors, heads or presidents, we have a problem. Then I think we need to work on this, and we make a special initiative also at our university to introduce feminatives to the official language, to the official documents. And we make this proposal in February for the new statute of the university, but it was ignored, I should say, by the authority, because everyone said it's too early. But I think important thing is that people like me, for example, that are established professor use the word professorka. I think I have several examples from our university that when the older people are using this kind of feminatives, people appreciate it, especially young people. And also, I think, but it has to be changed, because when we are speaking about some of the concourse, for example, I was just recently evaluating application from the Ministry of Education and Science, and it's only for candidates, only for men. And even if they speak about experts that are evaluating this, also only experts, that in Polish mean men, not expertka, that mean kobieta. Then I think we are not, I cannot imagine the things that, I didn't remember the name of the girl to speak before me. She said that in Germany, they can have kind of language that are not touching if it's women or men. I think in Polish it's not possible. We have to decide to use feminative or not. And I am an advocate for the using of feminatives, because I think it's changed our thinking.
Okay, I agree totally. And Dr. Agata Kołodziej, what do you think about it?
As neuroscientist, of course, I will. I strongly recommend to use the proper expression, and yes, it comes deep to the subconsciousness, and we need to really to name it properly. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. So the two questions more, and then we have to finish our debate. So let's talk very shortly about how women's perspectives are not accounted for in research. I know that there is a whole book by Caroline Criado Perez called Invisible Women about this aspect. And Professor Ewa Łykowska, do you know any examples, 2 or 3, about the lack of female perspective in such research?
Well, I think there are plenty of examples. Of course, the most known is symptoms of heart attack that are completely different for women and men. But there can also be another example, like when you speak about the transplantation of the hepatopoietic cells, you have to have in account that the cells have also sex. Each single cell, it's XY or XX. Then we have to think in any kind of medical treatment about women and men. And the problem is, in my opinion, because all the standards are for men. And if standards are for men, the body of the woman is something that is outside of the standard. And a lot of time we have this kind of cases that doctors just ignore women's symptoms. Also, the problem is that a lot of pharmaceutics were not tested for women. And only in last 15 years, there were like 80 different pharmaceutics that were discontinued in US, for example, because they were harmful for women, or the dose was not good for women. Then I think medicine just treats women like men. Everyone knows that each cell, each organ is different in the woman body than in man body. But anyway, in medicine, doctors treat us as a man because man is a standard. There are really a very low number of clinical studies in which women are involved. This is really a problem. And it's interesting why. It's because there were a lot of discussion that entering in the clinical research can be harmful for the fetus, for the if a woman is pregnant, it can be a problem. Then they does not involve women in the clinical trials. And there's still a lot of clinical trials in which women are not involved. Also, only from last years, people realized that it has to be different dose of a lot of pharmaceuticals for the women than men. A lot of therapies are not good for women. And this is really unbelievable because we are in time and the era of personal medicine and target therapies, but on other way, we are not recognized that women and men body are different. This is really strange, but this is true. And we have to really fight for this because all the experiments from the experimental cell line, then on animals, then clinical trial, all are on men or male. And then the results are not suitable for women a lot of time. And I'm speaking only about medicine. In this book, Invisible Women, there are different aspects of life, not only medicine. But I just like to give some examples of medicine.
And except medicine, for example, Dr. Sandra Tippenhauer, did you find any such examples in physics or oceanology or not?
Yeah, I think the closest that I can, go to this topic is what I already said about the clothing. But as I already also said, that is also a problem for men if they have bigger feet as the average. So this is just something, there is a pool of certain clothing. And if you are outside of the average, then you have a problem. Of course, you can get your own stuff and they would also maybe pay for it. But yeah, I don't think that I can say a lot to that.
Okay, so let's move to the last question of our day, but I think nowadays in the scientific discipline you represent, would you encourage your daughter to take up a scientific career? What do you think, Dr. Sandra Tippenhauer?
Well, of course, yes. It's a great field, it's a lot of fun, and it's very interesting. But of course, I would be honest about the drawbacks, and I would think that, well, she would need to find out what she wants and what she's willing to do for it, and maybe also to pay for it, and knowing the downsides. And then I would try to help her to find what she wants to do.
Okay, thank you. And Dr. Agata Kołodziejczyk, do you have 3 daughters or not?
Yes, I have 3 daughters and 1 son now. So, looking at them, how they are growing, I'm trying to predict if they are able to be a scientist, because still they are exploring, they are searching their talents, their things that they like. Honestly, I think they don't like me as a scientist, because I am always busy. I'm always working. I'm putting them to the bed and then saying, "Mommy, finally we'll go to work," because sometime I need to start working. And science is never-ending work. It is not 8 hours per day. It is all the time, sitting back in your head. You are never separated from your work. So I think that my kids, especially now, they see this side. Of course, I have time for them, but not that much as they probably would expect. So yeah, I'm impatiently waiting when they will finally find their desire, their thing, and that I hope they will follow it. So nowadays, I don't know. Of course, I will recommend it, but they see that it is not 8 hours per day work.
Okay, thank you. And Professor Ewa Łykowska, what is your opinion?
Well, I am in a little better situation than Agata and Sandra, because my daughter is already 40 years old and she makes decision. She has a mother that was scientist and father that was lawyer, and she decided to be a lawyer, because I think she has the same feeling like Agata said already, that she has a feeling that I never have enough time. And even today, she's just saying that sometimes when I try to make her sleeping, I was just describing my work, and it was really very good for her to sleep, because she was boring with this. But in fact, she likes to be independent. She has her independent office, and I think this was a good side. She can see that women can do a good job and could be independent, but she definitely don't want to work as a scientist. Even I was asking her when she was studying at the university, would you like to stay at the university? She said, no, I prefer to do other things. I think she really don't want to spend, she still spent quite a lot of time at her work, but I think she can cut work. But in our case, like Agata mentioned already, it's not possible. You always have something in your mind. You are thinking about your work, about your new concepts, and you have to think about people that you are working with. And then it's never-ending story. Sometimes it's not a very good example for children, but not, I don't know, maybe not for all of them. Like Agata said, she has parents scientists and she decided to be a scientist.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. I can tell you a story from the Faculty of Biology, from our university. There's one scientist woman had a daughter, and this daughter, when observed her mom working, she asked, "Mom, will I also have to do a PhD?" So after this story, I think that we can finish our day, but I want to thank you very, very much for your attention and for your participation in our day. But it was a really pleasure for me to talk with you about the women and girls in science. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
Okay, it's 4:45 on my computer. I can see 42 participants of the session. Well, I'm happy and unhappy. This is the last session of today. Happy because all went smoothly, thanks to all the people involved in organizing this event and all the presenters, of course. I haven't heard any stories about problems, technical problems, so I think it's a success, to summarize. Too bad we have to finish, because all the topics were very interesting, and we had really lots of good information passed on to the other people, and I think it's a really nice inspiration for the rest of the year and until the next conference, I hope. The jury met recently, and as always, we had a tough task to make the decisions. All the presentations were really very exciting, and were really good, and I don't think we had a point that something was out of line. Definitely not. However, well, it's a sort of a competition, so we have to make the choices, and the choices were easier in a sense that there were a number of people who were giving points, and then we took an average of all these points with number of people who reviewed the presentations included. So I think we're pretty close to the really good method of judging the presentations. We have the main prize of this meeting is always the award given by the director of the Institute of Oceanology, Polish Academy of Sciences, for the best presentation in the field of natural sciences. And this year the award of 150 euros goes to Comet de Nation. I'm very sorry if that's a misspelling. Congratulations. Pretty much everybody was, everyone agreed that that's the best presentation of this conference. But there were lots of other good presentations in the area of natural sciences, and we decided to award 3 recognitions. And the recognitions go to our Italian colleagues from Beatrice Sorrentino and Francesca Paniczutti. Congratulations. And also a Polish colleague, Marlena Szeligowska. Congratulations to all these people, and of course all the participants of the competition for the natural sciences. Really nice level, and very much appreciated. Yes, Marta and Szymon, you wanted to say something?
No, this is just an upload.
Ah, okay. You're just playing with the.
Now we just wanted to congratulate everyone awarded, and also all participants, because
do
all
we have
really
Comet, Beatrice, Marlena, and Francesca with us now?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. So congratulations, and we'll be in touch with the recognitions and the awards. So great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we had the next competition was for the best poster, and here we collected information from 2 days of comments, discussions, and presentations. So to some extent we have a better feeling of the results, and the results are as follows. The award given by the GeoPlanet Consortium of Polish Academy of Sciences Institutes, again at the rate of 150 euros, goes to René Zbizika. Is René with us? I guess not. Okay, but we also decided to award with the recognitions 2 other posters, and these go to Olena Kulakowska, Kacper Sar, and Natalia Senkowska. as well as to Bartłomiej Wilman, Dominika Saniewska, Magdalena Bełdowska, and Mariusz Wysiecki. So we have one award and 2 recognitions. Do we have Olena or Bartłomiej with us? Oh my God, people of little hope, but they got awarded. So we'll be in touch with these persons, of course. And once again, thank you very much for these posters. They were fantastic. And I hope you enjoyed the opportunity to be able to comment and discuss the posters for 2 days. And I suppose we'll really stick to this idea for the next conferences. The jury decided not to give any awards for the humanities and social sciences due to the fact that we had very few presentations, and therefore we thank all the presenters, but we feel like the competition was not really a valid thing because we had like just three presentations in social sciences, and we hope to get more for the next edition and have the regular competition like we used to have every year. Well, this would be it from me. Would somebody from the organizing committee like to make any comments at the end of the conference? Paulina, Alexandra, Marta, Szymon, if you would like to take the floor for a moment, feel free. Seems like not. Karolina, would you like to comment on the Women and Girls in Science session at this point, or basically you covered the topic during the session? But if you'd like to make some comments now, please go ahead.
Okay, I can comment that we have talked about really important things about the women and girls in science, about the programs that can help the women in science, about internships, about the research about the women as a subject of the research. So I think that the debate as this is very, very needed on the conference, for example, on the Sopot International Conference. And I think that we can do again this for 1 year. I don't know what you think about it and if you listen the debate or not, but I am really, really happy that I can lead this debate.
Yeah, thank you very much. Definitely, I think this is the beginning of the new trend in our conference, and I think we should stick to this special session or whichever form we adopt for the next year and the next conferences. The topic is important enough that we should keep it and we should explore it, and we should definitely be the advocate for the cause. So thank you very much, and we definitely must do it. Thank you. So with that, I would like to thank all of the participants. Yes, Francesca?
Hi, sorry, I heard I've been mentioned, but I was momentaneously not connected.
You're mentioned in a good way. Your presentation has been recognized as one of the 3 recognitions for the conference. So in the field of natural sciences. So we'll be in touch with you with the recognition that we provide. Unfortunately, this is not a financial issue, but it's a recognition of the jury of an international conference. So
thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Yes, Paulina?
I would like to really thanks to all participants. You all have really good works, but remember that this conference is entitled Where the World is Heading. So with these words, I would like you also to invite to the next year conference, and we are waiting for your submission within the scientific committee or organizing committee. Again, thanks a lot for your works.
Thank you, Paulina. Yes, definitely. Please stay with us. Let's be in touch. If you have any ideas to share, if you would like to contribute to the next year's conference in any form, please contact us. We are open to any type of cooperation. If you would like to suggest session titles or the areas of special interest, like we had the women and girls in science this year, we're open for any type of addition, cooperation and stuff. So we're closing the conference. Thank you very much. Stay safe, have great vacation, and let's be in touch and see you all hopefully next year. Some of you, I hope, in person, some of you probably online. The hybrid mode is the future. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you, bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.